Hello, I'm Yong Bae. I'm the maintainer of HiFi Immersion YouTube channel. Today, we're at GLV, and next to me, or in front of me actually, is Mr. Jonathan Gullman from MSB. He's the CEO of MSB. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, when did you get here?
I got here yesterday.
Yesterday. You came here with your family, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, when did you start MSB?
MSB was actually started, I'm the second owner of it, second generation.
Yeah.
So it actually started when I was a child. So I grew up in the world of high-end audio. So, ever since I was a kid, we always had the business in our house. It was in our basement, in our living room. So ever since I was a little kid, I've worked in the world of high-end audio.
Okay.
Basically, I started full-time at MSB out of college a long time ago.
Yeah.
More than 10 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
And then my brother and I and one other guy, we took over MSB completely, wholly, about 5 or 6 years ago. But the reality is, we had been the designers of MSB since the DAC 4 came out.
So your father started it then?
He started it, yes, back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Wow.
So
then and now, the computing environment especially is quite different. I mean, we're talking about in the 80s, we're talking about XTs, right?
the company then versus the company now, the products then and now, it's radically different. I mean, honestly, MSB, in my opinion, started really like the current version when I graduated college. My first design project was the Platinum DAC 4.
Okay.
So, it was the DAC 4 with its power base, and it started us down this path of, only pursuing high-end audio. Because in the 90s, we sold product for, $300. There was the Link DAC.
Right.
Thousands of, entry-level units. Now we focus on the upper end of the high end.
Yeah. Why did you decide to go for the upper end of high end?
Because we're pursuing our passion, and our passion is pushing technology. We're all engineers, we love designing, we love pushing things to their limits. And with a price constraint of a couple $100, you can't push things to the limit just because of the price. Also, you're now in direct competition with direct, import brands, et cetera. There's, if you want to find product out there at $300 or $1,000, there's 100 to choose from. And again, our goal is pushing technology and the sound to its absolute limits. If you can't be the best, why bother? Is our philosophy.
Your competitor would be like DCS and nowadays WADAX, is it?
Some people would say that. In our opinion, our competitors ourselves, we're always trying to better ourselves. So
that's a good
one. We don't really look to see what other people are doing. We just, we're engineers, we're always designing, we're always thinking of something new to do. We're always testing theories. Like a good example of that is our Pro ASL interface, the one with the fiber connection. We actually developed that about 10 years ago. We didn't introduce it until recently, because back when we developed it, that technology was incredibly expensive. So we had it working. We literally had it fully functioning in our lab. But at the time, the cost to implement it was $1,000 in materials. And now you can buy these modules for $5. But 10 or actually it may have been 15 years ago. Everything is 10 years ago. But when we first developed it, the fiber cable was $500. The transceivers were $200 or $300. Not $10. Because it was the latest technology for the computer industry. And we had this idea, we tested it, it worked great, but we couldn't justify putting $1,000 worth of electronics in a $4,000 product. So, we literally took it, threw it in a drawer, closed the drawer on our desk, and then as we saw the prices come down, now it's a commodity. Now there's hundreds of manufacturers, not one. And so we pulled it out of the drawer, updated it to work with the current technology, and now we have our fiber interface.
You talked about $4,000, but nowadays, these DACs are a lot.
Yeah, so this was, the analog DAC was our bestseller, and that was about
15 years ago.
So at the time, as technology has improved, Our prices, yes, have gone up, but we're also like the performance difference. There's no comparing the two.
Yeah.
The quality, the reliability, the fit and finish, everything we pursue to its limits. When we design products, we don't design it based off of cost as much as longevity.
Okay.
Every part selection,
Yes.
we say, if it's our amplifier, it has to work for 15 years without anybody doing anything. So we buy the highest, longest life rated capacitors.
Right.
So you don't need to recap the amp every 5
really?
years.
Okay.
It is guaranteed to work in the worst environment without any intervention for a minimum of 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
The reality is you can probably go 20 years and not need to worry about
Yes.
it.
So three of you are all engineers, right?
We're all engineers.
Yes,
So 2 electrical and 1 mechanical.
What kind of job do you handle in your company?
My current job is more product management and dealing with international sales.
Yes.
We have one person that does the U.S. sales, so he's fully in charge of that. But the overall product design management, making sure everybody's working together as a team, that's my primary job. I do things like the user interface, so the knobs, the buttons, the display, and computer interfaces. So I'm in charge of managing USB interfaces or network interfaces, the render. So that's my job.
Okay.
Your brother is also working.
My brother is working. He does all the industrial design, the mechanical design of it.
So he decides.
He is responsible for
Chassis,
the chassis, the look of it, how the knob works and the buttons. So that's what he pursues.
You have another person working, the
Yes.
electrical engineer.
So his name's Dustin.
Yeah.
So he's been at the company since he was basically in high school.
Wow.
So he's an electrical engineer.
How did he manage to work since he was a high schooler?
Because we were in a small town, and he was just like another member of the family.
Is he older than you?
He is a little older than me.
Yeah.
So his younger brother was my friend.
Okay.
So he was my friend's older brother.
brother.
He's like 7 or 8 years older.
Okay. Okay.
So who decided on squeezing it so that you can have like 3 chassis?
We learned a lot with product design when we started manufacturing everything in-house. Like how many circuit boards you can fit on a panel, and things you can do to reduce the cost.
Right.
And more importantly, waste less materials. So, we go back to the aluminum supplier, and they say, well, yeah, we have no issue supplying, the slightly deeper chassis of the reference and select. They said, but we do throw away over a foot of the plate. And we were like, well, why?
That's a waste.
So if we shrink it a couple of inches,
Yes.
not only do I think it looks better being more traditional form factor, the rectangle, we're not throwing away 25% of the plate.
Material. Yeah.
So, some of our decisions are based off of that. But, it was twofold. It was looks and why waste that much material?
Exactly.
So, and the thing is, it's aluminum. It's the most recyclable material there is. It's all recycled. The majority of aluminum in the world that's ever been produced is still in use.
Right.
Because it is vastly cheaper for an aluminum company to recycle it than to make new.
So why did you use aluminum for it?
It's easy to machine.
Yeah.
It's great for thermal performances. So the heat sinks are integrated in the chassis. So when you mount all the devices to it, the heat just spreads over to it.
Okay.
If you had a steel box, steel is terrible at conducting heat. So you would have to have aluminum internals.
All right.
So
All right.
copper would be better, but copper is a nightmare to machine.
Exactly.
And it's too soft.